All right, welcome everybody to the late night 229 U-Wave. We're jumping into our top cut here. My name's Nate. I will be taking you through some Pokemon action tonight. We're joining in game number 1 here. Our active player playing Arceus Armarouge. I wanted to highlight this one. It's a deck that I have enjoyed in the past and has done very well in this tournament up against Yongkai John on the Palkia Dusknoir on the other side. See how it all shakes out here. We're starting the Delphox V, which could be a nice attacker if we could accelerate pretty fast, but kind of lacking in our other options here in the hand. See what the Ultra Ball takes. Okay, it does have the Arceus V and the double turbo attachment, which is kind of what you're looking for with these Arceus decks. Sets up for, hopefully, an Arceus V-Star on the next turn with that secret box. Now the setup from Palkia, we'll see how far we get. This isn't a matchup that I've seen recently. The Arceus strategies have kind of fallen out of favor lately, and certainly before this Palkia Dusknoir deck got formed. I'm going to go ahead and retreat the Froakie, leave the Duskull the active, and pass the turn. Not the best setup. Not a lot of water energy entering the discard, but they do have Palkia Vs down and 2 Duskulls, so... Our Arceus player having to discard the whole hand to use this secret box, but it should set us up to do kind of whatever we want to do on this turn. Like we're going to switch into our Arceus, set up XP share on the bench to Delphox, slap down the Magma Basin, and hope this Professor's Reachers has an Arceus V-Star in it, which it does. As well as the energy needed to attack, so this is actually pretty good. Now this Arceus V-Star, very powerful V-Star ability. Lets you search for any two cards you want from the deck. And the attack is not so bad either. We're going to do 180 damage here, or maybe 200, but it's going to knock out the Duskull, and we're going to accelerate fire energy onto our benched V Pokemon here to set up for a future attack. We are going to use the Starbirth this turn. So spending that V-Star power early to go for, I suppose, the most effective setup here in this turn. Ultra Ball and another XP share seems to be the choices. See what Pokemon we're looking for. We do want to get fire energy into the discard so we can pull it out with the Magma Basin. We're going to get set up working on that Armarouge. And if the engine of this deck, Fire Off, lets you pull fire energy from the bench onto the active Pokemon. And we're also setting damage counters on this benched Radiant Heatran, which does 1,000,000 damage per damage counter. It does 70 per. So right now that attack would do 140. So eventually it's just going to one-shot anything. There's that Trinity Nova, knocking out the Duskull, accelerating energy onto our Delphox. We're pretty set up here on the Arceus side. Kaijon's going to Nest Ball for a Pheasantipity to draw some extra cards with that Flip the Script. Really favoring the Duskulls here. Switching into the Palkia V, and going to use the Iono as well. Really looking for the Palkia V-Star this turn to mount an attack here. What would really be great is V-Star and Candy Duskull, or Candy Dusknoir, to reach for the KO on this Arceus V-Star. Ultra Ball is going to have to find the V-Star instead. So it's looking less likely that we're going to get that full Dusknoir into Palkia attack. But using the Star Portal here, getting our active Palkia ready and storing a 1 water energy on the bench to Palkia V. Just going to be a subspace swell for 220, set up for a 2-turn knockout on the Arceus. We do find the Armarouge, so that Fire Off is now active if we wanted to get a little tricky with it. Unfortunately, there's not another fire energy. Oh, maybe there is one. If there's another fire energy in the discard, this Radiant Heatran, we could get a Magma Basin onto that and set up for 280 damage with that Raging Blast, but looks like the energy that's in there is not a basic fire, so can't quite reach for that yet. I think we're going to boss the Froakie, retreat into the Delphox, and use our magical fire attack here. Also setting up the Iron Hands on the bench. This is another fun thing about the Armarouge Fire Off, is that it can move our special energies that count as fire, such as the Luminous or even Legacy energy, to the active. So it's a way to accelerate this Iron Hands in a single turn, whereas maybe you wouldn't be able to otherwise. So here we see that Fire Off from the Arceus onto the Delphox. And this magical fire is 120 to the bench and 120 to the active, and then you lost zone 2 the energies. So 2 knockouts here. The Froakie denying the Greninja EX, and the Duskull making it that much harder to chain Dusknoirs back to back. This is going to be quickly return KO'd by the weakness of Palkia V, but still up 3 prizes here. Night Stretcher for the Duskull again. Setting up the benched Palkia and another INL. Kaijon really looking for just the cards in the right order. We still haven't seen a Dusknoir. There's our first one. This Curse Blast could just take out the V-Star on the bench. 2-for-1 prize trade's not the worst thing. There it is. That Curse Blast going to take the first 2 prizes of the game for Kaijon. At the same time, though, setting up our Armarouge player for just a single more 2-prize knockout. That Pheasantipity looking like the prime target. Let's find the second Palkia V-Star. Ultra Ball for a Mew. A restart will get us 2 more cards here. And there's the Subspace Swell with weakness 440 damage. XP share, going to take one of those fire energies and move it onto the Armarouge. So 4-prize turn for Palkia Dusknoir here. We'll see if Arc Armarouge can get it done in this last turn. Potentially last turn. It seems likely that on a follow-up turn, the Palkia deck could take 2 prizes. So thinking of a way to get this Radiant Heatran in the mix. The Magma Basin only accelerates to the bench, so we do have to send up the Armarouge first. Now the Heatran has the damage it needs to go for this knockout. We just need to find a way to get into the active slot. We used a switch earlier. So I don't know what the plan is to retreat this Armarouge. Kind of unfortunate circumstance that there wasn't another basic fire in the discard a previous turn. We would have been able to just promote the Radiant Heatran. Ultra Balling for the Pheasantipity will draw us 3 more cards, but I don't think it gets this there. Armourouge having 2 retreat costs instead of 1 is really throwing a wrench in the mix here. And INO the opponent to 2. We still get to draw 3 from the flip the script. And I think we need to stall out a turn here. Hey there, Ghost Epic. Welcome to the stream. We're in the first match of our top cut here at Late Night 229. Using the fire off. It's like going for an attack with this Armourouge this turn. It's going to make it hard to follow up on the next turn. Flame Cannon, 90 damage and a burn. So some extra tick damage as the turn passes over. Doesn't cure the burn. That's another 20 damage guaranteed. Assuming they don't switch out, which they could, of course. Okay, stop bumps. The Magma Basin restart draws us 1 more card. Okay, stop. No rare candies in sight. Looking for that second Dusknoir. Doesn't find it. And this stalling out a turn might end up working here. Night Stretcher can get us the Dusknoir back. Retreat the active Palkia. Send up the fresh one. Dusclops. We go ahead and use the Cursed Blast. This is only 50 damage from the Dusclops. Setting on that Iron Hands EX. And a Subspace Swell to knock out this active Armourouge. Now, what is the plan here? We don't have another Charcadet set up. So we can't fire off this turn. And nothing that can attack with a single attachment with the Magma Basin being gone. I think, yeah, we have to attach and hope this INO onto 1 draws us the Magma Basin. We get 3 more cards with Flip the Script. And does find it. There it is. This Magma Basin accelerates to the Radiant Heatran. We can retreat the Pheasantipity, and now this, with 60 damage counters, this is 420 damage. And that's going to be the first game for Arceus Armourouge. Yeah, Ghost Epic. So I'm not playing. I'm just casting. These are the players in the tournament. I'm just watching their streams here. But the tournament and all the deck lists are on limitlesstcg.com. You can find Late Night 229 and find all these players. We're in the top 16 of this tournament, so these are the best of today. Now Palkia gets to go first. Both of these decks would very much prefer to be going first, as they both like to be setting up with their Evolution V-Star Pokemon, which really launches the rest of the strategy. Starting the Lumineon V here is pretty rough. Mew EX on the other side isn't exactly what you would want to see either, but still better than the Lumineon. And they have Duskulls on the bench. I assume this means there's a Palkia in hand as well. Another Nest Ball will get it. And the Radiant Greninja to draw even more cards while simultaneously getting the water energy in the discard to be pulled out by a star portal in the future. Pokestop gets a second water and gets us a Nest Ball as well. Full bench setup here for Palkia Dusknoir. Squawkabilly, we're not done yet. Walk away the Rotom and the Pheasantipede and the Palkia V-Star. But we want to search through more of our deck this turn. Earthen Vessel gets us some more energy. Pretty ideal setup. Even finds the energy to attach. Meanwhile, on the Arceus side of things, we don't have a lot going for us. This Ultra Ball will need to be used to find an Arceus V. But that means you're throwing away... You can get at least one fire in the discard that way, but it's kind of going to be the end of the turn here. We can run the Pokestop and see what we find. But there aren't really a lot of super substantial item cards. It's XP share hitting the discard. Does find the Nest Ball, which is nice. Setting up a second Arceus V in case the first one gets knocked out by a Subspace Swell. It has to pass the turn. Does have the Arceus V-Star in hand for a follow-up turn with a Starbirth. But this is looking like it's going to be a very powerful turn from our Palkia Dusknoir player. Ultra Balls for the Dusknoir. Has the rare candy. Has the Palkia V-Star. INO reload our hand. And at the same time, sending that Arceus V-Star to the bottom. Not the best stop that time, but does have the Prime Catcher for the Pheasantipede. That's going to be the target this turn. Don't even need to use the Cursed Blast to get the knockout here. We can save those for a future turn. It's 220 from Subspace Swell for the knockout. Now our Arceus player, this would have been a way better first hand, but no V-Star in sight. That research probably going to have to be used here. To play out as many of these cards as we can reasonably play. Deciding which of the two prizers to knock out here. Seems like the Mew should be the choice. There's a consideration to use the Pokestop before the Magma Basin, and that's what they're thinking about right now. Sides against it. So we're going to hope for an Arceus V-Star in these 7 cards. Ultra Ball gets us there. Question is, what do we throw away? Double Turbo's the choice. So at the very least, it's going to be 2 prizes here taken this turn. With some extra energy accelerated to our Arceus V. See what the Starbirth choice is. Seems like the Radiant Heatran. Very good tool to have last time. And the Secret Box, of course, can grab you whatever you want, basically. It does feel like we're a little bit on the back foot here this game, though. At very least, Magma Basin to the Radiant Heatran. Get the damage and energy starting to rack up. 180 from a Trinity Nova is exactly the right amount of damage to knock out this Mew. Accelerate these 3 fires to our benched Arceus V. Thinking about 2 and 1 perhaps as a retreat pivot for the Luminion. But now certainly this can be a powerful turn from Palkia. We have 1 Dust Noir ready, a Dusclops ready to evolve into a second Dust Noir. And no Star Portal used yet either, actually. There's a potential here for a double Cursed Blast onto the benched V Pokemon and then a Moonlight Shuriken to take the 4 prizes here, which would end the game. We'll see where this first Cursed Blast goes. Seems like maybe we don't have the second Dust Noir quite yet, which would put a stop to that plan. We might just be so far ahead that it won't matter, but we'll see. First Cursed Blast going on to the Luminion V. Counter catcher up the Radiant Heatran. Yeah, it looks like we didn't find the second Dust Noir, but we're going to settle for 3 prizes instead of 4. Which also takes out this 1 big attacking threat of the Radiant Heatran at the same time. Oh, had the Dust Noir anyway. Okay, they're making this more complicated than it needed to be. That Irida could have searched out the Night Stretcher, got the second Dust Noir. 130, 130, 90 to both Vs would have taken the game this turn, but... Thinking about the second 90 now. You kind of have to commit to this plan now that you've done it. I'm gonna take out the Sharkadet instead, I suppose. I guess the Radiant Heatran does have this 3 retreat cost, so you're safe to leave it in the active for a turn. A little sketchy there. Could have been could have solved the game that turn. The thing with this Palkia deck, all the Night Stretchers are so powerful because you can reuse tools of the combo, like the Dust Noirs. But it's still going to be, I think, secured here. We can just retreat into the Palkia V-Star Subspace Swell next turn. Although with the switch in hand, they could this could end up lasting out a turn more than they expected. Tails on the Capturing Aroma will get us a basic Pokemon. Not exactly what we wanted to see. Looking for the Arceus V-Star instead, but... Gonna just take the Charcadet. Switch into the Arceus V-Star, which can attack. Setting up our Radiant Heatran to be able to attack on a future turn. We do knock out the Greninja at least here. Ino to 1 seems like the only option, to be honest. Ino to 1 with the boss's orders as well. Ooh, for next turn. This could turn around because of them. They didn't pull the trigger on the double Dust Noir last turn. What did this Ino to 1 find? Well, they do have Flip the Script, of course. They're going to see 5 total cards here. Heavy Ball to just get it out of the deck. Flip the Script here. Finds a Pokestop. Night Stretchers, there we go. The second Night Stretcher this time will get the Dust Noir that should have been gotten last turn. The Curse Blast will just knock out that Radiant Heat Trail on the bench, or the Shark Cadet, their choice. Or the final prize of the game. A little scary there. Could have gone, kind of slipped out of their fingers, but it's going to bring it to 1-1. It's a best of 3. So the final match going to be the decider here. There's a nice, interesting spread of decks tonight. After coming from the Toronto top 8 of 6 Regidrago, we only have 3 in the top 16. It is the most played deck here, but we have this Arceus, we have a Cloth, we have Archaladon, we have 1 Snorlax, 1 Conkeldurr. Like, could be some interesting matches. So now Arceus gets to go first once again. We'll see if they find the Arceus start. You need that Arceus V and an energy attachment. That's really all you're looking for on the first turn. Well, they've got half of it. Starting the Blood Moon Ursaluna is not exactly what Palkia wants to see either. There's not a lot of ways to draw cards on this first turn or search energy, so we might be missing out on the energy attachment this turn from Arceus, but checking the prizes very quickly. Yeah, it might just have to be a pass. It's going to be a little bit slower of a start for Arceus here. Against something like Palkia Dust Noir that is so turbo fast. It would be pretty rough here. Has the Irida to find the Radiant Greninja and the Buddy Poffin to find 2 Duskulls. As long as we find our Palkia V off these concealed cards. You're looking pretty good on Kaijon's side. Heavy Ball, maybe there's 1 prized. There was indeed. Best case scenario there. You always like to see your Heavy Balls being used for full effect. And has the Rotom V. This is a nice little tech card in Palkia that we don't see too often. But on these first turns where you're just setting up, you're not attacking, drawing those 3 cards is very strong. Heads on the Capturing Roma finds us our Arceus V-Star or the Armarouge. We have the Ultra Ball to find the other one. But again, we're not getting an attack here because we missed the energy attachment on the first turn. I wonder if there's ever a star birth for something like double turbo Iono. It feels like we have to do something this turn. The only way to draw more cards now is to find a supporter somehow. Feels a little bad to be using your powerful V-Star ability like this, but I think it's necessary. Okay, Secret Box and Fire. Which will find us our supporter, of course. My brain is stuck in... I played this deck before Secret Box existed, so it wasn't in my thoughts of choices, but of course it is. One item, one tool, one supporter, one stadium. Colress Tenacity can find us a double turbo on the next turn. Magma Basin can start setting up the Heatran, I think. See what the Nest Ball finds. Throwing away the Switch is a little scary. It's the only one in the list as far as I know. Okay, so here's our double turbo attachment. Magma Basin going onto the Radiant Heatran. And we have to pass the turn back. Oh, of course, fire off. What am I saying? We do get a Trinity Nova this turn. Now, there's no benched Pokemon V, which means these fires are only going on the active. Little risky here. Sealed cards. Our Palkia's player is still looking for the V-Star, looking for rare candies and Dust Noirs. Ultra Ball will find one of the two. There's the Dust Noir. We also need a way to get this bear out of the active, which could be a Prime Catcher or a Switch. We would spend the Iono looking for more of the pieces. We still haven't found the V-Star. If this Arceus survives another turn, then it's kind of... the sketchy opening is kind of saved here. Looks like it might be the case. It does find the one Switch, so that's actually a really good find. It just leaves the Duskull in the active. Seems like we didn't quite find our Palkia V-Star. Curse Blast is just enough to take care of the Armarouge. 1-for-1 prize trade keeps it even. And sets up another Duskull for a future turn. Yeah, and just an instant charge. At least they do have the Rotom. I was saying in situations like this where you either can't attack or you aren't attacking, those extra card draws from an instant charge are so strong. Capturing Aroma. I think looking for Tails this time, which it does find. Has to think about what the plan is for a backup attacker. Arceus V-Star feels almost certainly is like it's going to be knocked out on the next turn. We're going to start setting up for a second Armarouge, and this Nest Ball is going to find us our other attacker, perhaps. Really does need the fire off Armarouge in order to set up the second attacker with all this fire stuck on the active Arceus V-Star. How many fires are in the deck? There's 8 fire energy. 4 are stuck on the Arceus. 1 is in hand. Thinking for how many more we could get accelerated out with the Trinity Nova. We're gonna INO this fire back into the deck to pull out with the Trinity Nova. But we draw 1 anyway, so... Not the most ideal attack here, just the Duskull, but prize is a prize. Get to accelerate 1 measly fire to our Delphox V. And now Palkia is finding all the pieces they need. Here's the V-Star and the Pokestop as well. Night Stretcher will get us back Dust Noir, probably. There's the Rank Candy Dust Noir. This kind of sets up for the 2 prize knockout that we'd like. We can get now the Radiant Greninja out of the active. First Blast going on to the Delphox. We might actually see Star Portal Moonlight Shuriken here. To put just 90 on... Maybe you take out one of the Chark data, or maybe you put the 90 on the Arceus V-Star to set up for a Subspace Swell on the future turn. We do get to restart for full 3 cards here. Pokestop finds us just a Nest Ball. Looks like Moonlight Shuriken is going to be the idea here. 3 waters accelerated from Star Portal. And knock out this benched Delphox V. And this other 90 is the choice here. I'm going to knock out one of the Charcadets. The 3 prize turn lets us now look for a 2 prize knockout on this Arceus to end the game. While at the same time kind of cutting down on the offensive capabilities on the other side. This Arceus V-Star isn't reaching the damage you really need to knock out even the Rotom or any 2-prizer. With that magical fire gone from the Delphox, we're going to struggle to really get any meaningful attack done here. Finds another Arceus V. Benches the Lumineon, looking for boss's orders, or the Ino. Probably more effective here. Set your opponent to only 2 cards. They do need to find Rare Candy Dust Noir to get the 2 prize knockout. Well, I suppose now not with the Lumineon benched, but makes it a little bit harder, at least. Certainly looks favored for the Palkia deck here, though. The shuffle back in the Delphox and the Fezandipity. And researching, not using INO. Looking for something this turn. I don't think they found it. Ultra Ball can find us either of those two Pokemon. Pheasantipity will draw us more cards, but doesn't seem like we're going to make an effective attack here. I suppose if you Pheasantipity draw into Counter Catcher, you can knock out the Ursaluna. Okay, so if we find Counter Catcher, actually this Iron Hands could take 3 prizes, but we don't end up finding it. There it was. Final 3 cards. Doesn't get the Counter Catcher done. A little rough. Now, it seems likely that Palkia could get the return 2 prize knockout, but it's not guaranteed. We'll just have to see how this final turn plays out. Firing off the luminous energy to the active. Trying to decide what to retreat into. It can't be a 2-prizer because then you're just giving up the game. We're going to fire off to the Radiant Heatran. This will be enough to take out the 1 prize. But with this being knocked out, we don't have enough energy to attack with the Iron Hands on the next turn. Going to become very awkward here. Of course, none of it matters if the Palkia player finds their Candy Dusknoir Prime Catcher. Or even just Candy Dusknoir, I suppose. The 130 can take out the Armrouge for 1 prize, and then a Subspace Swell can take out the Heatran for the other. Earthen Vessel. No energy to grab. Shuffles the deck twice. Spending cards so we can restart. Flipping the script. Did we find it in our 6 cards? Yes, we did. That's going to be the game for John from Malaysia, taking down Paradox from the US. Very, very close set of games. This Arceus deck kind of struggled to get set up here in the 3rd game. But could have been a different story if they had hit, 1 more energy early or found the Counter Catcher that turn. It was within grasp. We're going to hop to another match. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, guys. Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Hopping into the middle of this game here. This is now our top 8. We have Yunkai John, this Palkia player that we watched last match, up against Regidrago V-Star. This is Sahil P from the US. This is game number 1. We didn't miss too much. We'll take stock of our board state here. Regidrago V-Star is already prepared to attack. Meanwhile, our Palkia V-Star here has 2 energy, and now this Greninja EX has 2. Subspace Swell is going to do the first bit of damage onto our Regidrago V-Star. Seems like there was a Rolling Iron from a Gudra last turn, so this Subspace Swell only did 120 rather than the 200 it should have done. So we know that at least the Gudra V-Star is in the discard as a potential attacker for Apis Dragon. And they've also taken 2 prizes, so I wonder what small 2-prizer we were able to knock out with that Rolling Iron. At any rate, there is our Dragapult EX being sent to the discard, so now Phantom Dive is a potential attack. So what our Palkia player has set up here now with his 2 energies on the Greninja EX. With another attachment, we have access to Mirage Barrage, which does 120 damage to 2 Pokemon, I believe. Let me check to be absolutely sure. $120 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. So that Mirage Barrage combined with some Cursed Blasts from either, well, most likely Dusknoirs, but we could see some very swingy turns where you're knocking out 2 benched 2-prizers with a Mirage Barrage for 4 prizes. Meanwhile, a Drago player super rodding back in the Regidrago V because they do need to set up a second V-Star this game, most likely. Curious to know how many energy switches have been used thus far, if it's 2 or 1. Gonna use the Legacy Star V-Star power this turn to try to get the most set up they can. We saw a glimpse there. There's the Giratina, Gudra, and Dragapult EX as dragon targets in the discard. Really choosing here for our 2 cards to return to our hand. Most likely something like a supporter and an energy switch, if I had to guess. Nest Ball will find our Regidrago V. Earthen Vessel discarding an Ogerpon. Find us some more energy, which we can Teal Dance. Draw even more cards. We might end up seeing a Lost Impact from Giratina this turn to knock out the active Palkia V-Star. That 280 number is such a good target to reach against these V-Star decks. There's 1 energy switch to prime our second Regidrago. And the second one. Professor's Research to top it all off. Great sequencing here from Sahil. Not wasting any cards at all. Superior Energy Retrieval, going to get back the fire we need as well. It was a Squawkabilly was the mystery card that Live didn't quite catch. This setup is looking really great for our Drago player. Here comes the attack. Apex Dragon copying Lost Impact. Gonna do 280 damage. A small requirement of Lost Zoning 2 energy from your Pokemon. The one from the active and one from that teal mask Ogre Pawn. We'll see now what Palkia Dusknoir can get into this turn. As Prime Catcher in deck. Flip the script, gonna draw 3 cards. Finds the second rare candy, but no Dusknoirs. Pokestop could find them. Just a Dusclops. The Dusclops could be enough to knock out the active Regidrago V-Star with our Mirage Barrage. Gonna go ahead and evolve the active so this Curse Blast can get it out of the active as kind of a free switch. We're gonna see 2 more cards. Concealing cards here. Oh, although this is the last energy. We do have the Night Stretcher, but you'd really rather be using that on Dusknoirs, but it seems like we have to use it for the energy here. Concealed card still doesn't really find what we're looking for. We would have rather found the Prime Catcher here, because then we could Prime Catcher up the Phasandipity, which is weak to fighting, and the Mirage Barrage then could have knocked out both the Regidrago V-Star and the Phasandipity. There's still a chance that we find it. We're going to thin out some cards here and then throw this Iono. Although this finding the Dusknoir... No, we still need to find Prime Catcher here. We do. So here comes that play. Phasandipity, weak to fighting. Going to take 240 from a Mirage Barrage, and then the extra 120 can go and knock out that benched Regidrago V-Star. Like I said, a big 4-prize turn here. The only potential problem is that this Regidrago V is already able to attack as long as we find the second Regidrago V-Star. And there is all of our energy we're hiding in the prizes. We were so restricted on those. Now we have Pokestop, potentially some Teal Dances, and a Restart here to find our Regidrago V-Star. But even just finding the V-Star isn't quite enough yet. It would have to be with boss's orders as well. Kind of a tricky turn here. Now, at the very least, this Dusknoir can never use Cursed Blast, as we are down to only 1 prize on the opponent's side, so they're not at the threat of Cursed Blast aiding a 2-prize knockout here. Ends up finding Grass for a Teal Dance. Restart for 2. Doesn't look like they found quite yet the V-Star. We'll look at one more card. Finds a Prime Catcher. We're going to send up the Regidrago V. It does have this Dragon Laser. 130 to the active and then 30 to something on the bench. And that's actually just enough to take the final prize. So game number 1 going to Sahil on Regidrago. I would have to imagine that Regidrago won the coin flip on that first game as they were able to get that rolling iron attack so quickly. Again, both these decks would prefer very much to be going first. Winning that opening coin flip in some matchups like this matters a lot because you have the advantage in game one, and then perhaps you lose the second game where your opponent goes first, and then once again you have the advantage in the third deciding match. Here we go into game number 2 of the series. Meanwhile, taking a look at our other matches here, all 3 of the Regidragos, as Regidrago does, have advanced. One making it as far as top 4 already. Final 2 here playing against Palkia Dusknoir, and the third playing against a Gardevoir in top 8. So it might actually be a rerun of Toronto top 8 here. Regidrago continually doing very well, both online and offline. So see what our Palkia player can get done here. On their first turn, a mulligan doesn't help. Does get to start the Palkia at the very least. Searching through, seeing what's prized. This Pokestop kind of has to find a lot, though. We're looking for a Nest Ball for a Squawk ability. Ultra Ball will get us there. We really need to churn through more of the deck on this first turn. Get some Duskulls down. There's a Squawk and Seas. We get 6 more cards. Some Nest Balls and a Froakie. This is passable. This is playable. At the very least, you don't need to worry about your lone Palkia V being knocked out. They were considering taking the second one, but there's nothing that Regidrago can do to attack the first turn. You have some time. Gonna Night Stretcher back the Rotom and end the turn with instant charge here. Does need to find cards, so that makes sense. Nest Ball and Buddy Buddy Poffin. That was about the 3 worst cards you could have found, I think. It's not at all helpful with the bench already full. We'll see here. This is the time in the game where Regidrago can falter, is the setup phase. They already get the Gudra in the discard, though, so that's a good sign. As well as Earthen Vessling finding some energy to be able to Teal Dance. Checking prizes very carefully here. Here's our first Teal Dance. Finds a second one. Terra Orb will find a Dragapult to be discarded rather quickly. It's an interesting tech we don't usually see in our Regidrago lists here. It can, of course, find both the Teal Mask Ogerpon and that Dragapult, which are both very important parts of the deck. So I understand its usefulness here. One of those cards that has not yet seen the amount of play that I think people were expecting when they first saw it revealed. But I think especially as we go towards rotation, where more and more of these Pokemon that are important and strong are the Terras as the Vs rotate out, we might be seeing a lot more of this Terra Orb. The heal does find is Regidrago V. The only question is whether we find the fire to attach, I suppose. Okay, go ahead and attach a grass to the active, and we're going to attack this turn. Myriad Leaf Shower going to do 30 plus 30 for each energy on both active Pokemon, so there's that 150 there. Now that is using an energy switch for something that's not a Regidrago, but we see that Prime Catcher being prized. It's pretty rough prizes here for Palkia. Ooh, no attacks even able to be made. Just has to instant charge and accept that this Palkia V is going down. It's the only one on the bench. This aggressive play using the E-Switch to attack with the Ogerpon is going to pay out here. Really seeing the opportunity arise. And it does make sense as well, because even if a Palkia V-Star had come down, the Subspace Swell was maxing out at 200 damage right now, which wouldn't quite be enough to take out this Teal Mask without the help of a Cursed Blast. So it's a risky play to take, but there's lots of ways out of it, as we see here. Second energy switch going to start setting up this Regidrago V. Professor's Research gets our Dragapult and our Kyurem into the discard. And here's our third energy to be able to attack again. It's going to be something you don't see very often. It's a Myriad Leaf Shower knocking out a Palkia V. Usually these Ogerpons only really get into the mix of attacking against weakness targets like the Dark type Charizard or Roaring Moon or things like that. But it's going to do a lot of work here in this game. We are able to find the Regidrago V-Star with that Ultra Ball. And a Fire Energy, so there's going to be a follow-up attacker with this Regidrago V-Star. But meanwhile, the Ogerpon is doing a lot of work here, taking out the only Palkia V. What do we pull out with the Nest Ball? So really, the only chance for an attack here is with Rare Candy Greninja EX. So that's all we're searching for here. Flip the script. Finds the Ultra Ball, which can find it. Counter Catcher up the Regidrago. Ideally, this Pokestop would hit something like a Dust Noir, which the Ultra Ball can find it. So Dust Noir plus the 170 damage of a Shinobi Blade will be enough to take out this Regidrago V-Star. So this maybe is enough to stabilize here. There have been 2 energy switches used already. There's no energy set up on the Regidrago V. And they have to find the V-Star anyway to be able to use it, so. Here we have our double candies. Night Stretcher can find the energy that we need to attack. Making a strong play out of kind of bad situations here. First Blast plus Shinobi Blade. Shinobi Blade also lets us search our deck for any one card. Nest Ball will find our second Palkia. Both players still have access to their V-Star powers, so if Sahil is able to find their second Regidrago V-Star, they could really get set up fast that way. And we could still see a Star Portal turn from our Palkia player. Ultra Ball and Roxanne from the prizes. Roxanne also a nice little sneaky tech card that people are putting back in. Seems like Ino had kind of taken over for a while, but Roxanne's still quite powerful. He'll finds the Pheasantipity, so we have a lot of cards to see to find our Regidrago V-Star here. The problem is you need V-Star and Fire and 2 E-Switch. So 4 pieces, which if you find the V-Star, the Legacy Star could find us 2 of the 4 pieces, but it still is a lot to ask for, it feels like. Meanwhile, this Greninja being at 310 health is a little annoying as well for the Regidrago deck. Nothing can quite hit that all by itself. I'm gonna spend the Prime Catcher here. There's 1 E-Switch. Feels likely that we're going to find the V-Star in this case if we're going for this play. We've yet to use our Flip the Script. Another Teal Dance finds another card. Now really just needs to find the V-Star, and we're able to mount an attack if we use the Legacy Star. And thinking about the prizes, at 3 prizes, if we find the V-Star at all, it's the end of the game. Ino, we get to look at 6 more cards, 3 from Ino and 3 from Flip the Script. Do we find the V-Star? Flip the Script. Here we go. Last chances. Yeah, they found it. Slapping it down. So now our Legacy Star can get us back an E-Switch and a Fire Energy. And we can Phantom Dive 200 to the active, 60 to the bench, Duskull. That is 3 prizes. In the set. Regidrago doing Drago things. Moving on to top 4. We'll see how many there are. We'll be right back as we find another match. All right, just a quick break there. We are jumping into the thick of this game number 1 between Koiwashi and Patrick Gabrice from Poland. This is Regidrago up against Gardevoir. I was looking at Koiwashi's list a little bit earlier. No, that was a second. There was another Gardevoir in the tournament that was playing the Scoop Up Cyclone, but this is Unfair Stamp Gardevoir. Apart from that, looking very standard. There is a Tatsugiri to find our supporters. But standard Gardevoir fair. We're towards the end of this first game here. The Mind Bend and Adrenabrain action trying to stop this Regidrago V-Star from being able to attack. There's a lot of the energy is committed to the board here. It's kind of spread out, but I think if Gardevoir is able to last another turn, Miracle Force or... yeah, probably just the Miracle Force would be able to take out this Regidrago V-Star. But no more Curlias here. The switch will get us into whatever attacker we'd want here. Question is what that would be, though. There's no attack we can make here. Gonna boss up the Manaphy. Hope that that sticks around at least a turn. We can Teal Dance and Energy Switch here. Yeah, they're getting ahead of themselves a little bit. Isn't quite enough to take 2 prizes with Phantom Dive yet. It's a little awkward here. We can't really use the Phantom Dive. Do you maybe use Rolling Iron or just wait? This is a really tough decision, actually. Yeah, so going to be the Rolling Iron, meaning that this Regidrago is going to take 80 less damage from attacks this following turn. They really did need to attack to set up any sort of follow-up, because the math wasn't going to work out on any sort of Phantom Dive in the future. So effectively, this Regidrago has 230 health remaining. Now, a double Adrenabrain into Miracle Force is more than 200. So seeing how we can use our energies effectively here, they are kind of spread out, which makes using the Psychic Embrace a little trickier. Retreat from Drifloon gets 1 more into the discard. Yeah, this will be enough. So we just Psychic Embrace all to the active. Double Adrenabrain. At least 60 damage off of the Gardevoir, and then a Miracle Force should clean up the game here. Here we go. 30 from the Monkey Dory, 30 from the Gardevoir. And the Miracle Force is enough to take game number 1 for Koiwashi. Gardevoir getting it done in the late game, as it often does. Feels like if you get to that stage of the game, it's almost a guarantee that Gardevoir is going to come out on top. We'll see how our Drago player fares in game number 2. This is like the last match. This is a top 8 match, so looking to qualify into the top 4. Where, as the bracket would have it, another Gardevoir player is waiting. Drago choosing to go second, actually. Interesting choice. Starting the Screamtail from Gardevoir. It often feels like it doesn't quite matter what the opening Pokemon is for Gardevoir with all the recovery that they are expecting to do anyway. Field Dance finds a fire. This Ultra Ball will have to find our Regidrago V. Or Squawkabilly if they're feeling frisky. As the Prime Catcher has all the energy in deck. So this is just going to be the end of the turn here. Oh, we do have research since we're going second, of course. So used to Drago going first. Finds 2 E-switches. We can spend at least 1. Kind of the wrong order of things here. We'd rather have the teal masks to be able to use all this energy we can find with the earthen vessels. We know this is there's only 2 fire in this list, I believe. Yeah, so that's the second fire now in the discard. 1 being attached to the active. And a retreat into Grasping Draw here. Draws a single Cologne. Not super useful here. Meanwhile, this Arven setting up for extremely powerful turn for our Gardevoir player. Buddy Buddy Puffin will find us 2 more Ralts. And that TM evolution can turn them into Curlia immediately. We're actually doing their initial prize check here. Just for the Ralts and the Manaphy. Protecting against a potential Trifrost from Akiram. Can be very devastating for Gardevoir. But do find the 2 Curlias from the TM evolution. Setting up very nicely. Lots of draw here, and the Drago player needs to find a lot as well. We could mount an attack here. There's not many dragon Pokemon in the discard yet. Not a great... There's the Kyurem. Might have to be the play. But with the Manaphy... So we have the double E-switch. We have the energy, the Ultra Ball to find our V-Star. We even have Boss Cologne in hand, so we could cure him this turn, actually. But it's asking a lot for a follow-up. It is like a devastating cure him, certainly. You know, it's at the cost of removing all the energy here. You see, it's the only attack we can use. We're going to take out both Curlias and the Screamtail or the Manaphy. That makes sense as well. Reprise turn. Now our Drago player needs a lot to set up. These early Trifosts a lot of times feel quite good. As you're taking 3 prizes, you're eliminating a lot of Pokemon, but then the setup to mount into a second one is always the problem. I was able to launch that attack without using the V-Star power, so that can help to reload. Finds the unfair stamp. Our Gardevoir player has to just reset up. Find as many Ralts as you can. This evolution. Looking for a second one. Hopefully they can find the 2 Curlies again. Get 5 cards off of the unfair stamp. Monkey Dory with Darkness. Nice setup for a future turn, but it's just going to be a single Curlia here from the Technical Machine evolution. Now, what can we find here? Nest Ball will find us a Mew, perhaps? No, Mew's gone. Not a lot of great targets, then. Seems a little unlikely that we can set up 3 Regidragos this game, but might be the idea anyway. And we have to use the V-Star power here to do anything this turn. Either that or switching into Cleffa and just drawing. But you do have some time. That might be an option. Let's see, that might be the play. Thinking about it. It's a tough decision. You're thinking that another Kyurem attack would be the end of the game here. But you need to fight a lot of pieces. There's the 3 energy, 2 grass, 1 fire. But the problem is both fire are in the discard right now, which means you need to find the Super Rod to get them back in the deck. Or pull them out with the Legacy Star. Super Rod of Gardevoirs gets Manaphy back. Hopefully they can find that before the Regidrago gets built up again. Single refinement here. Finds the Artisan, which will find the Manaphy. Nice Ino as well. Set the Drago back to 3 cards. Doesn't even need the Artisan. Often will do it. So once again, Gardevoir now is safe-ish from the Kyurem. There is always the chance of getting Canceling Cologne back from Legacy Star. But that's adding one more piece to the already complicated puzzle of attacking with this Regidrago next turn, so make it as hard for your opponents as possible. We could see an attack here. The Monkey Dory could use its Mind Bend. Would knock out the Cleffa. Or a Screamtail attack might be the option as well. Yep, just Roaring Scream, 40 damage onto the Regidrago V-Star. Kind of used to seeing Screamtail hit these huge damage numbers. That's a little puny Scream there, but maybe 40 damage is exactly what they need. There's the first E-switch of perhaps 2 that they need. Let's see what we find with 7 cards here. Finds the Prime Catcher, finds the Super Rod, but not a lot more. Feels like this has to now be the Legacy Star turn. Probably after, well... both fires being in the discard is a little distressing. It makes it hard to use the Super Rod. Here's the Legacy Star. There's one E-switch. There's Gudra. What are we pulling back here? Already used our supporter for the turn. Superior Energy Retrieval and an E-switch will let us attack this turn. And thinking about a follow-up. The 40 damage is annoying because it lets double Monkey Dory Miracle Force knock out this Regidrago V-Star. Here's our fire we need. Heal Dance and Energy Switch. Oh, did want to use that first. That was scary. The only having 20 damage on the Screamtail as well is an added bonus because the 60 damage counter or 6 damage counters from a Phantom Dive aren't enough to knock out the Screamtail by itself. Here's that Super Rod refilling on energy once more. The question is, what are we prime catching this turn, if anything? We could just retreat and knock out the Screamtail. But that sets up... It feels like we want to take out one of these Monkey Dories. Okay, it's just going to be the active. This opens up a route for Gardevoir where they just knock out this Regidrago V-Star and are fine here. Rolling Iron is going to be the choice. That makes it a little bit harder now, actually. So effectively 360 HP, which means they need to get to 320 by combining Adrenabrains and some sort of attack. Not the easiest proposition. But I would say an added problem with this Rolling Iron, of course, it tries to keep your Regidrago around, but it doesn't set up for an easy 2 prizes on the following turn either. Meanwhile, a Gardevoir player getting their energies set up in the discard like they would like, searching for the second Darkness, which they need for the other Monkey Dory. They do need to get a lot done here this turn as Gardevoir. Night Stretcher, Bravery Charm. A Charmed Drifloon could get the job done. Drawing our last couple cards from this Refinement, gets another Psychic into the discard. Manually attaching to the Gardevoir, which we expect will probably use a Miracle Force sometime in this game. Artisan finds us the Drifloon, perhaps. End up failing to find instead. We're going to retreat into the Gardevoir. A little scary to be putting 40 damage onto the Gardevoir. Although we can take 30 off with Monkey Dory, so that solves that problem. Trying their best to keep the Gardevoir above 280 health remaining to prevent lost impact from Giratina. So now what is the play here? We gotta find 2 prizes as the Drago here, which isn't easy. Might be the turn to try to knock out this Monkey Dory. With so many E-switches having been used, this second Regidrago is not ready to attack. Gonna be the play, though. Deciding between the Monkey Dory and the Curlia. Decides to go after the card draw instead of the damage manipulation. And hit a couple teal dances here. I suppose you could attack with an Ogre Pawn this turn and force the Gardevoir to find boss. We haven't attached for turn, and we're not going to either. Feels like maybe we forgot here. Dragon Laser or Phantom Dive. No, Rolling Iron only. Again, not setting up any damage on these benched Pokemon. I feel like it's going to make it hard to find a knockout here. Again, Rolling Iron, so effective, 360 health here. Or only 180, that's a miracle forced away only. This Regidrago's going to get knocked out this turn. And then what's the plan? 6 energies isn't enough for a Myriad Leaf Shower. It's only 210 damage. So this Drago needs to find just one more prize, but it's not going to be easy to do. It could potentially be Myriad Leaf Shower into Combustion Blast on the next turn, but it's asking for a lot to go right. I feel like we really should have attached the grass to something last turn. Drain the Brain, going to take the remaining damage and put it on that benched Regidrago, but here's that Miracle Force KO. And now, what's the plan here? We don't have time. Oh, Boss's Order solves it. Well, that's that, I suppose. Been a very complicated endgame. Regidrago able to find it this game. Bring us to a game number 3. Always such a back and forth game whenever Gardevoir is involved. They will have taken no prizes, but still feel like they're winning. Waiting on live, as always. Come on. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the rest of the bracket, how it's faring out. The rest of top four, so the other three players are all set. There are 2 Regidragos on one half and Open Agility on Gardevoir waiting for the winner of this match. Meanwhile, Sahil is up 1 game over Bastix in that Regidrago mirror. We're guaranteed at least a Drago in finals, maybe 2. Might be Drago or it might be Drago Gardevoir. The only choices left. It's going to be a lot more of this. Opening this Radiant Charizard, not what you want to see as a Drago. Ultra Ball going to need to do a lot of work here. So interestingly, last game, Patrick on Drago chose to have Gardevoir go first and won that game, and now Koiwashi has chosen to go first after losing going first last game. Buddy Puffin will find us some Ralts, though. Start the setup very strong. Finds the Tatsugiris. We'll see this tech coming into play this turn. Going to retreat into it. It'll find us a supporter for next turn, hopefully, attracting customers. Finds an Ino. Passes the turn. Now, I think Patrick would really kind of like this hand to be Ino'd, so not worrying too much about that. Certainly not. Can't throw away the E-switch. It's so important. There's not going to be a lot done either way this turn, it feels like. See what the one choice is here. Prime Catcher in deck. Missing a fire. 1 fire prized. Also 1 grass prized. A little low on energy. Start of this game. We get to Teal Dance. Look at 1 more. Maybe looking for an ion of their own. Mew, not quite. And we could draw some more cards with Restart. Losing the boss and the energy switch without using them feels pretty bad. Gonna be the choice, though. 3 more cards with restart. Finds another teal mask, or potentially we throw these away for the Regidrago. Yeah, getting that set up. Passing the turn with no cards in hand certainly de-incentivizes the use of that Ino we know that is in the Gardevoir's hand. They just draw into the Kirlia anyway. They don't need to Ino here. Back customers again. Finds an Arvin. That's even better. To find something like Buddy Buddy Puff and an Evo. Yep. Get Ralts and Manaphy. We can evolve that Ralts immediately, hopefully, if there's an energy in hand. Which there is. Question is if we choose Gardevoir or not. Yeah, just the Kirlia. You oftentimes want to wait as long as possible before evolving into the Gardevoir. Yes, Jake, I apologize for all the frame drops. I think I know why in the back end things are happening, but I can't change it right now, so. Unfortunately, this is what we're going to get for today at the very least, and I apologize. Still get most of the action. Another Teal Dance here. Drawing some more cards. We could see another Myriad Leaf Shower be the potential attack here. Although at least this game we have a nice dragon Pokemon in the discard ready to attack with Apex Dragon. But no way to get the Radiant Charizard out of the active, so we're going to end the turn here. This Drago list runs a Professor's Turos scenario, as well as a Switch and a Prime Catcher that could get this Radiant Charizard out of the active. But it does give Gardevoir a lot of time to set up exactly as they want. Refinements here, drawing so many cards, getting all the psychic energy into the discard. Now it's time to go on the offensive, it seems. Or not. Just evolving into the Gardevoir, nothing else. Top decks the Switch. Well, let us attack this turn with our Regidrago V-Star. Presses Research. Finds the grass. So no need for an energy switch, even. You have to be a little worried about the Drifloon here. Considering about how the Gardevoir would be attacking on a follow-up turn. We have a lot of options. We do have the Dragapult in the discard, so Phantom Dive seems like the correct choice of attack here. And set up some damage counters on either, well, probably the Manaphy. Manaphy or Kirlia. Don't know if you want to spend the Prime Catcher here. It feels like you want to save that for when it might matter a little bit more. Here we go, the Apex Dragon. Going to copy Phantom Dive, most likely. To knock out this Tatsugiri. And put some damage counters on some Pokemon here. We can split them up, which makes it harder to remove them all with Monkey Dory activations. So putting 20 on the Kirlia to set it up for a full 60 from another Phantom Dive, and putting some on Manaphy. Try and take that out to activate Trifrost. Bowashi instantly pushing up the Drifloon. See if they have the Bravery Charm here. They do. This can easily be a return knockout with a Balloon Blast. Unfair Stamp shuffles back in the V-Star and the Prime Catcher that were in hand. Well, finds the Prime Catcher. A little less helpful when you don't have the V-Star yet, but... Meanwhile, there's Arven finding the Darkness Energy that the Monkey Dory needs to activate Adrena Brain. Here we go. Psychic Embrace onto the Drifloon. Going to set up enough damage counters to be able to knock out this active Regidrago V-Star. $100 will do, as it's 30 per damage counter. And now we get to fully heal the Kirlia as well and set it up onto the benched Regidrago V. So a knockout from Balloon Blast, healing our Kirlia in the same swing, and making it hard for Drago here to mount an attack. Serendipity in the discard can't be found with the Nest Ball. You could Ultra Ball for the V-Star, but that means throwing away the Prime Catcher, and then you'd have to Legacy Star to get any sort of attack, hopefully, even. Seems like that might be the idea here. We do get to draw 3 from Restart first. But we need to find double E-Switch and Fire Energy. Oh, and the other Fire is Prize, so we need to find a way to get it back into the deck. Legacy Star can do, but... Again, we need 3 pieces of a combo, and we only get 2 from Legacy Star. We have to get back Fire. You can't use... you only have 7 cards left in the deck. Yeah, it has to be Ino. Kind of running out of time and resources here on the Drago side. Doesn't look very good. There's 3 E-switches in the discard. Not getting the fire back. Perhaps is forgotten. The other one is prized. Okay, gets the spirit. Yeah. But again, this isn't enough to attack this turn. All 7 cards there. Yeah, I'm going to concede. There's no way to mount an attack here. Running out of resources. That means Koiwashi moving on. There's going to be a Gardevoir mirror in top 4 for the chance to play up against a Drago in the finals. So we will be right back as we find hopefully another match to watch. So don't go anywhere. All right, folks. Well, that is gonna be it for us, unfortunately. It turns out nobody else can stream. So it's gonna be the end of our coverage of the EU wave here. But there is another tournament tonight, the late night NA wave. So there's gonna be more Pokemon in just a few hours on this channel. So if you want to watch some more, it will be here in just a little bit. If not, thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed your time. And we'll see you in the future. So enjoy.